السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So as we mentioned, today inshallah ta'ala we're going to do some review, answer any questions, clarifications, and so on, inshallah. Before the questions, yesterday we mentioned regarding the verb or the scale in fa'ala. Take off the afterwards. It's too loud. Yesterday we mentioned about the scale in fa'ala. The day before I was explaining something about in shaqqa. Right? And I said to forget everything that I said about in shaqqa. We're going to start back. So I realized I mixed up the scale when I was speaking. One, they can help themselves. So let's start with the scale in shaqqa. We did a few scales, different scales with the past, present, the command masdar, and the doer, right? We took a few scales. And as we said, all of these scales, they have general meanings to them. It's not consistent with all of the verbs, but they have certain meaning. So, for example, let's take the word alima. Alima means what? He knew. Right? He knew. Correct? He knew. Right? From ilm. Right? This is the root. From ilm. So he knew. He has knowledge. So if you say alima الطالب الإجابة. علم الطالب الإجابة. What's the meaning of that? The student knew the answer, right? The student knew the answer. Now, if you put alima on the scale, fa'ala becomes allama. Now, allama, we translate it to mean he taught, right? Someone. Right? Clear so far? In other words, he gives someone the ilm, the knowledge. So alima, he has the knowledge. Allama, he gives the knowledge to someone else. Taught. Right? Allama yu'allimu, he teaches. Going good? So that is one of the meaning of the scale. Now there is another scale that's related to this. Now, the person you thought, when he received the knowledge, what is he doing? He's learning. So you knew, you're giving the knowledge to someone else, allama. Now the person who is receiving the knowledge, what he's doing? The person who is receiving the knowledge, he's learning. I teach you, what are you going to do? Huh? No, I'm teaching you. So you're doing what?
Receiving the knowledge.
That is what you call it. Learning. Clear? You know the meaning of the word learn? Yeah. The teacher teaches the students, how they receive the teaching? By learning. So the obedience to this verb is on the scale tafa'ala. Right? Becomes ta'allama. Ta'allama. Ta'allama means what? He learned. There's a past tense. Right? With a T, not ED. ED? Sure? I get ikhtilaf in America. Right. You sure? ED or T? One of the sisters answer. Whatever they say, we're going to work with that. So we understand here, right? Alima, he knew. Allama, he transgressed this knowledge to someone else now. The person who is receiving, ta'allam. So when you put this star represents obedience to this scale. Right? This is on the scale fa'ala. Right? Fa'ala, or here specifically fa'ila. And this is on the scale fa'ala. And this is on the scale tafa'ala. So fa'ala. Now fa'ala, one of the meaning of fa'ala is you're causing someone to possess the fa'ila. Because when you teaches someone, you're giving them the knowledge. And this scale tafa'ala is obedience to the scale. To the scale what? You have to go in front. Obedience to the scale. Which scale? Tafa'ala is obedience to the scale. Fa'ala. Clear? Now another example. Dhakara. What is the meaning of dhakara? A sister in front there? See, is she looking for somebody? Huh? She was just knocking on the door. You can send she upstairs. Let she. Dhakara is what? He remember. Remembered. Correct? Past tense. He remembered. Right? Or it can mean he mentioned. So he remembered. Based on the understanding we give here, what is dhakara is going to mean? He reminded. Dhakara, he remembered himself. right? He is conscious himself. Now, dhakkara, he makes someone else possess the act. He reminded someone else. He caused someone else to remember. Clear? So, dhakkara, he caused someone else to remember. So, alima, he knew. Allama, he caused someone else to know. He teach them. Dhakara, he remembered. Dhakkara, he caused someone else to what? To remember. So, in other words, he reminded. Right? He reminded. So, now what tadhakkara is going to mean? And this here is a good example to show how the meaning get lost with English. What tadhakkara going to mean? Tadhakkara, remember, is what? Obedience to dhakkara. So what tadhakkara going to mean? What you said? What are you going to say?
I have a question. What do you mean that's obedience to that?
Why explain the same thing? When you teach someone and the person follow they accept the teaching, they learn. That's what I meant. You teach someone, what a person did, they learn. So you remind someone what the person did. Huh? He remembered. Right? You remind someone, what are they going to do? They remembered. Right? He remembered. Now, what's the difference between he remembered here and he remembered here? You can't get that without knowing the indication of the scale. When you say he remembered here, it has no indication that someone is reminding him or that he was reminded. Right? But when you say huwa tadhakkara here, he remembered because of something reminding him. Understand the difference? In the Quran, awalam yatadhakkaru, right? Wouldn't they remember? Wouldn't they be reminded? Why? Because the Quran is reminding them. Someone has had their hands up. You? Right? So the only way you can explain the difference between these two is understanding the purpose of the scale. Clear? The sisters, everything clear? I didn't see any. Okay. Right? So we understand this, the concept, they call it mutawa'a, where this scale is the obedience of this scale. So let me quick review. So alima, he knew. Scale fa'ala. Remember, this is just one of the meaning of the scale. Right? Allama, you cause someone else to know. You teach them. And ta'allama is you receiving this scale here. You're receiving this action. So ta'allama, someone is teaching you, so you learn. Right? So ta'allama means learn. Dhakara, he remembered. Right? They're just attributing the action to him directly. How he remembered, there is no indication if it's by himself, through admonishment, through reading, someone telling him, no indication. Dhakkara, you reminding someone, you're causing someone to remember. Right? Allama, you're causing someone to know. Dhakkara, you're causing someone to remember. Now, tadhakkara is you're receiving this here. Something reminding you, so you remembered. You were reminded, right? But to say you were reminded can be a little slightly different. Why? Because this verb here, when you this verb, this one and this one, they are all what do you call it? Reciprocal verbs. Like I'm walking. It doesn't mention anything to do with an object. There is no object, right? This one, when you say I learned algebra in school, right? You're going to know that someone taught him. But the verb itself, I learned, doesn't indicate that someone is doing anything. How we know someone taught him? Because of the general understanding, right? When you use the word, I learned something in school, obviously, from school, right? Your teacher taught you or something. So these verbs, they are, what do you call it? They are reciprocal verbs. They don't have objects. But when you say, he was reminded, it's like you're saying, instead of saying he learned, you're saying he was taught. The general overall meaning is the same, right? But when you say he was taught compared to when you say he learned, what's the difference? When you say he was taught, you are making mention of someone teaching him without mentioning who teach him. Catch the difference? Think about it in English right now before you understand the Arabic. When you say he learned compared to saying he taught, what's the difference? It's a very, what do you call it? Subtle difference, right? But there is a difference. The overall meaning is the same. He was taught and he learned. The overall meaning is the same. But there is a difference. One, you're indicating the presence of a teacher. The other one, you're not indicating the presence of a teacher. You're more indicating his action. You understand? You're more indicating his action, the student's action. It's like, if you want to say, okay, when you're going to say an example where you're going to use he was taught compared to he learned. Where if you want to give credit to the unknown teacher, he was taught. Right? If you want to give more credit to the students, he learned. One example, right? There can be more than one example. So that's the difference between saying he was reminded compared to saying he remembered with tadhakkara. So now you're going to know when to use dhakkara and when to use tadhakkara. If you want to say I remembered, right? When am I going to say dhakartu compared to when I'm going to say tadhakkartu? If it happened, if you want to say, if someone asks you, do you remember the dua after adhan? Right? Generally, you're going to say dhakartu. I remember. Now, let's say it happened that someone just read it next to you, and that person calls you to remember it. You're going to say tadhakkartu. Right? Remember I told you we didn't touch anything.
The reminder.
Huh?
The reminder.
One of the easy ways to deal with these complications, choose an easy example and gauge everything. Do qiyas, analogy on it. This, I think the alima is an easy example, right? Because 3 different words we have in English. Here we have 2, one is the same word in English. So we all know what's the meaning of he knew, we all know what's the meaning of he taught, and we all know what's the meaning of he learned. And we all know the difference between the 3. So just use this as your baseline and relate to it. And like I always say, everything don't have to digest right away. Right? Everything you don't have to digest. Give it some thought, but don't just give it a lazy thought. Make your effort, read, ponder. If you don't get it, leave it off, go back to it later. Inshallah. So, that's the... Huh? Very juice. Mix half and half. Show the end. This here is an intro to go to the next scale. What does, is that ta, fa, ghain? If it's ta, tafa'ala is the scale. That's the scale. Tafa'ala. If you turn to what I'm writing on the board, these are the scales. So ta'allama is on the scale, tafa'ala. Allama is on the scale, fa'ala. Alima on the scale, fa'ila. Right? We mentioned scales, like in Arabic, they gauge all the words back to a scale. So for example, if I say, put alima on the scale maf'ul, put alima on the scale maf'ul. Maf'ul. What are you going to do? You have the fa, ain, and the lam represents the root letters. The addition you add. What half? Right? The addition you add. So the ain, say if I say put alima on the scale maf'ul, the fa going to represent the first root letter, which is the ain. The ain here is going to represent the second root letter, which is the lam. The addition waw, you replace it. Right? You have the meme, you replace it. And the lam representing the last root letter, which is the meme. So it's going to be ma'lum. Ma'lum. So tafa'ala. So alima on the scale fa'ala becomes allama. Alima on the scale tafa'ala becomes ta'allama. If that is what you meant. We pause for the adhan.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar,
Alaikum salam.
Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
You're violating. When you put your hand on the lens, you create that answer was meant by the question. If you mean the actual meaning of the word, right? Fa'ala means he did. Fa'ala means you cause somebody to do something. And tafa'ala is the, what do you call it? The receiver submitting to the taf'il. Now, What is the meaning of the word kasara? Hmm? He broke. Right? The three-letter verbs, they have the widest usage. Right? Some of it can be verbs that are, we had used a word, verbs that has transitive, right? That was the word. Three-letter verbs, they can be transitive, meaning they have an object. Like he broke something, right? If you just say he broke, sentence incomplete. You got to add something to it. And like alima is non-transitive, right? He knew. You don't have to add anything. You can add, but you don't have to. Like he walked. He walked, you don't have to add anything. Sentence complete. Right? So kasara means he broke. Now the thing that you broke, when it received when it received the breaking, what it did, when it submit to the breaking. Muhammad broke the door, right? So now you want to attribute it to the door itself. You don't want to say Muhammad broke the door. You don't want to say the door was broken, indicating somebody. You want to say like the door broke. The door broke. What is it going to be?
Is it mukassar?
The door broke with a verb, going to be in kasara. In kasara. So when you say, you're going to say here, kasara Muhammadun al-baba. Right? And here, in kasara al-babu. In kasara al-babu. Kasara Muhammadun al-baba. Muhammad broke the door. In kasara al-babu, the door broke. Now this is different than saying kusira. Remember we did the, what they call it, mabni al-majhul. When you say kusira, gonna mean what? The door was broken. You're indicating someone broke it, but you're not saying who. In kasar al-bab, the door broke. You're not indicating anyone. You're attributing the action to the door as if the door broke itself. Right? Even though the reality might not be that, but your expression, you're not indicating that someone broke it. Right? This is a verb by itself. Clear? Next example. We give this one the last time, right? Qalaba. Qalaba means what? He flipped, right? He flipped something. Right? Turned over. He turned over something. Now when the thing received the turning over, it in qalaba, right? On the scale, these are the scale what now? In fa'ala. You add alif, hamza, and nun sukun at the front. Fa'ala. So kasara you add in. Qalaba you add in. In qalaba. In qalaba. So for example, you say qalaba al-mujrimu as-sayyarata. The criminal turned over the car, flipped the car. Right? Now someone passed the car, see the car turn over. Say in qalabat as-sayyara. You can say the car flipped over. The car. Now if you say the car was flipped over, that's going to be what? Kuliba. If you say the car was flipped over, that's going to be kuliba. But when you say the car flipped over, in qalaba. So this word here, this scale, one of the meaning of this scale is what? submittance to the transitive form of this scale. Remember, not all of this scale is transitive, meaning not all of the scale has a object. So you broke something, the thing breaks. You flipped something, the thing flipped over, right? So now, shaqqa means to what? Split. Huh? Somebody asking a question? What is the past tense for split? Splitted? What is English past tense to huh? Split. He splits, he split. Is it? Same thing? Right? So now shaqqa means he split. Past tense. No, huh? Same. Now, when you split something, and that thing received the splitting, or you describe that now? Like here, I want a word like here. He broke the door broke. He flipped the car flipped. He split the table split. So what is going to be? Remember, you have to add Hamza and Noon. So what are you going to be? In shaqqa. Right? In shaqqa. And remember, we mentioned this verb is reciprocal, right? The last time we mentioned it doesn't have an object. So the difference between in shaqqa and shukka. Shukka means it was splitted. Right? That's going to be like kuliba, kusira, shukka. In shaqqa, you attributing the action to itself. But because of the scale, you know that there was a doer because of the scale. You understand? So for example, اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر, and the moon splitted, right? But there is someone who split the moon, right? Who split the moon? There is a very tricky, what do you call it? Multiple choice if you had it. Who split the moon? It's safe to say the Prophet ﷺ split the moon. Who split the sea? Huh? Right? Both can be correct answer. Right? Both can be. Like like in Surah Ma'idah. Tukhrijul mawta bi'idhni. You give life to the dead with my permission. So we understand the in shaqqa. Now the last time I was saying it was emphasis. Right? But the emphasis scale is the fa'ala scale. The emphasis scale is not the in shaqqa scale. It's the fa'ala scale. So shaqqa means he split. How we make shaqqa, how we emphasize shaqqa. Now we mentioned one of the usage of the fa'ala scale is what? One of the usage of the fa'ala scale, where you double the middle letter. What is it? Emphasis, right? One of the usage of the fa'ala scale is emphasis. So shaqqa, he split. The thing receiving the splitting, splitted, right? So in shaqqa, right? Shaqaqtu al-waraq fan shaqqa. I split the paper, so it's splitted, right? Fan shaqqa. Now, if I want to emphasize splitting, that's going to be like I rip it up, right? Gonna be what? I gotta double the one of the ways. So I double the middle letter. Shaqqaqa. Right? Shaqqaqa. If I double the middle letter now, I end up with 3 qaf. Right? 1, 2, and 3. Shaqqaqa. So now, the thing receiving shaqqaqa, I'm going to do what? It's not going to do in shaqqa anymore. What is it going to do? Huh? The thing that receives shaqqaqa. Remember we did it before. The thing that receives allama. Remember shaqqaqa now is on the scale fa'ala. The thing that received fa'ala did what? Sorry, the thing that received allama did. Ta'allam. The thing that received dhakkara did tadhakkar. So, tashaqqaqa. What are you going to say? Tashaqqaqa, right? You got to add the ta to the full scale. So, shaqqaqa, tashaqqaqa. So, this is where the emphasis is. Right? وَيَوْمَ تَشَقَّقَ السَّمَاءُ. Right? So those are some of the meaning of these scales. And we did, when you add the alif, sin, and ta, what meaning it gives? When you add alif, sin, and ta to the beginning of a word, to the beginning of the 3-letter verb, it gives what meaning? No, that is the sin. You got the alif, sin, and ta. Who remember? Just remember an example. Give me an example. You have the word ghafara. Ghafara means what? He forgave. So if I add alif, sin, and ta before this, right? Alif, sin, ta. What it mean? Requesting, right? I seek forgiveness. We mentioned nataqa means what? Nataqa. He spoke. So if I put alif, sin, and ta, istamtaqa. He requests the thing to speak. Right? Kharaja. Kharaja means what? He left, he exited. So istakhraja. Right? Huh? Yeah, you're seeking it out. Right? You're seeking it, extract. Like when you like if you extract petrol from the earth or so, you use istakhraja. You have the word Alaikum Salam. With regards to you can put any of the verbs on any of the scales. But with regards to the usage, right, any verb, any 3-letter verb can fit any of the scales. In theory. But is it used? Is it a scale that is used or not, they're going to be depending on the language itself, if the Arab use it. But with regards to dhakara, in dhakara, you have the word, I'm not sure if in dhakara can be used. You have the scale, for example, id dhakara. Id dhakara is from the scale ifta'ala. Where is the ta? They flip the ta because of they flip the ta because of pronunciation. But in dhakara, Allahu alam. Let's pause here, inshallah. We're going to continue 5:30. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Okay. So there's with regards to these scales, right? In the beginning stage, you learn each word with the meaning. The scale, you use it to assist you with a little deeper understanding of the verb. Also, the scale can assist you when you don't find a word in the dictionary, right? So let's say for some reason you weren't finding tashaqqaq, and you're not finding shaqqaqa. All you're finding is shaqqaq, shaqqa. So you went in the dictionary, you find shaqqa. For the need at that moment, you apply the scale to get an idea what shaqqaqa going to mean, and you're going to know what tashaqqaqa is going to mean. But the default at the moment is you don't use the scale as a default to get the meaning. You use it as a secondary aid to understand the meaning. What I mean by that, if you come across a brand new verb, let's say you come across the verb we did in qalaba, let me say tajamma'a, for example, right? You come across the word tajamma'a. Go straight to the dictionary and look for tajamma'a, see what it means. And then if the meaning coincide with the scale, you get a better understanding. For example, the word jama'a. Jama'a means what?
He gathered.
He gathered, right? Jama'atul fulus. I gathered the fulus. What is fulus? Money. It's fushar. Allahu alam. Right? Jama'atul mal. I gathered the wealth. Right? Jama'atul mal. I gathered the wealth. Alladhi jama'a malan wa'addada. Right? The one who jama'a gathered malan wealth wa'addada, and he counted it. Right? And addada, we said, is like shaqqaqa. Adda means he counted. So when you put the shadda, it's emphasis. Always counting, right? Somebody who paranoid over wealth, they always do, right? Every time they got to keep checking their bank account, keep checking, see how much increase, how much decrease, right? Addada, counted it. So you know jama'a means he gathered. Now you come across the word jamma'a. Gonna means what? First thing you go to the dictionary. Don't use the scale and do ijtihad to determine the meaning at this moment. Okay, remember everything, right now we're still in the beginning stage of the language. So you don't apply, right? And then when you find the meaning, then you're going to know, okay, it's referring, it's this meaning of the scale or that meaning of the scale. Now, based on what we learned, jamma'a can have possibly two meanings. What are the two meanings for jamma'a? If we were to apply the usage of the scale. Forget about the actual meaning, but what's the possible meaning, right? Jamma'a. If jama'a means he gathered, jamma'a gonna mean what? One of the meaning can be emphasis, right? Emphasis. Now, with a lot of time with the emphasis, you're not gonna find a single word in English to translate it to, right? You gotta put other words with it. Another meaning can be what? You cause someone else to put together something, to gather, right? You cause someone else to gather, right? Like alima, he knew. Allama, you cause someone else to know. Now, you come across the verb tajamma'a. Tajamma'a tullab. Gonna be what?
Gathered?
They get together, they gather together, right? They get together. Because if you gather them with the emphasis, and then they're gonna get together. You understand? From ta'allama. Yu'allamahum, so they ta'allam. Clear? And then you have the word ijtama'a. Ijtama'a means, is another meaning to get together, to gather, right? You all come together. There's a different scale. Ijtama'a is on the scale ifta'ala. The hamza and the ta is extra. Ifta'ala. Another, ready? You can rest some half frame or let somebody collect them. You want let them collect them on a step. Another scale we did is the scale fa'ala. Fa'ala. For example, our verb on the scale fa'ala. Qatala. Right? Qatala. You put qatala on the scale fa'ala. You're adding an alif after the first root letter alone. Now that scale shows musharaka. It shows interaction. Qatala, he killed. Right? One person doing the action to another person. Right? There's no back and forth. There's no interaction. The lion killed the buffalo. There's no interaction. But qatala, there is interaction. Each one of them trying to do the same to each other. So they're fighting. Right? Qatala means fight, interaction. That is one of the meaning of the scale of sharaka. So, fa'ala. And you have, like for example, the word qabala. Qabala means what? There's interaction, meeting, right? Interview, interaction. Qabaltuhu, I met him, meaning I met him, and it indicating that both of you meeting each other. Right? Clear? That is one of the meaning. You have the word shajara. Shajara means to dispute. Right? Each party disputing with each other. It shows interaction. For example, you have another word. Daraba means what? Daraba gonna be what? Right? Each party hitting each other. So for example, Daraba Muhammadun Ahmada. Muhammad hit Ahmad. There is no indication that there was hitting from Ahmad hitting Muhammad. But if you say daraba Muhammad wa Ahmad, Muhammad and Ahmad hitting each other, right? Shows, the scale shows musharaka, one of the meaning. So like that, all of the scales, they have some indication towards it. Like the scale if'alla shows quality. Like that's where you find a lot of the colors. Like isfarra, it became yellow. Ihmarra, it becomes red. Iswadda, it becomes black, right? There is a whole topic by itself. Now the next thing I wanted to go through, if any questions on what preceded, make sure you ask. This here was this homework here we said due by weekend, right? Those who sent me homework on WhatsApp, just make sure you put your names for the competition homework. I see a few came in. I didn't check all as yet, so that result gonna come out later on. This here, I see there were some mistakes on this here for a few people, so we're gonna go through it together. We're going to go through it together. We can give back Ismail this one. Who else had given me this homework? Anyone else from here? You? Yeah, you put your name on the page? I have some page without name. Okay. You have the book? Okay. Well, just note it and note the correct thing in the book, just in case. I'm not sure if I check all the others. Where is there's any question? I'll give him a minute to reach back. Any question on anything in the book? Everything clear in the book? Anything I said that I'm going to clarify and I didn't clarify it? Where is it? Yesterday, everything we said we're going to clarify yesterday, clarified? Well, what was it we said we're going to clarify yesterday? Who remember? Huh? We finished in shaqqa. Again, like you said, remember the Try remember. Okay, let me go through this here. So with the help of the translation, add the vowels to the following sentences. Remember we mentioned the tashkil, the voweling. The number one thing it depends on is the understanding of the sentence. Then knowing the grammar that supports that understanding, not the opposite. Right? Most time people focus on the grammar first. And we gave an example in the beginning. Right? If I put akala, ate, and then I put two words in the sentence, in Arabic you can put the doer first or the object first. Right? So for example, I can say akala al-qitta, akalat al-qittatu, or akalat al-qittatu al-fa'ra, right? Or I can say akalat al-fa'ra al-qittatu. Who is eating who? In both sentences, the cat ate the rat, right? Akalat al-qittatu al-fa'ra, akalat al-fa'ra al-qittatu. Now when you see that in a sentence, it won't have any vowel in. How are you going to know which one to put the dhamma on and which one to put the fatha on? The first thing, you got to know the meaning of the words and what the sentence is saying. And even if they happen to have a typo, you're going to realize it because you know what the sentence is supposed to say. So here we have the student stood in front of the teacher. So waqafa means stood, he stood. Student has to take dhamma. Okay, the 5 types of verbs. Right, we're gonna touch that inshallah. Right? So talib gonna take dhamma. Why? Because it's the doer. So waqafa talibu, amam is in front. Now this showing what? Place of the action. The word showing the place of the action has to take fatha. So you're going to say amama, and the word that comes after it is mudaf ilay. So it takes kasra, right? This one is mansub, this one is majrur. So waqafa talibu amam al-muallimi. Clear? That one is easy. This woman is knowledgeable. But here we didn't use a single word adjective. We use the that. هذه المرأة ذات علم. هذه المرأة ذات علم. Now this one is a giveaway. The vowel is in there. هذه المرأة ذات علم. I read the book a thorough reading. Now where we get the thorough from? Right? Qara'tul kitaba, I read the book. This word here, reusing the masdar. We said one of the purpose of the masdar, if you use the masdar in the fatha state, shows emphasis. Right? That you did this action. So here, qira'ah has to take what? Fathatain. Right? Full fathatain. Qara'tul kitaba qira'atan. I read the book, literally it means I read the book a reading. Meaning you read the book thoroughly. You actually read the book. You didn't just skip through it. You didn't just browse through it. You want to say that you actually read the book. And remember we said you can translate that however you want to translate it. Right? Qara'tul kitaba qira'atan. The man traveled at night. Safara rajulu, right? Man is doer. Laylan. This is a giveaway because you see the alif there indicates there is a fatha time. Remember when you put, that was something I was supposed to mention. All words, if it end with a fatha time, you have to put an alif with it. If a word ends with fatha time, you have to put alif with it. Except for ta marbuta. You're not going to put any alif after ta marbuta, the wrong ta. And some cases of the hamza. Some case there is an alif, some case you don't write the alif for dictation ruling. Now when it comes to the ta marbuta, okay, before that, when you stop on a word that has fathatain, you stop on the alif. So here, if I want to stop on layl, you're going to say what? Safara rajulu layla. You're not going to say safara rajulu layl, and you're not going to say safara rajulu laylan. That is clear, right? Now let's say it was a ta, like here. Qara'tul kitaba qira'atan. How am I going to stop? Qara'tul kitaba qira'ah. You don't pronounce no alif. If it's ta marbuta. Now, if it is hamza, you're going to pronounce the alif, whether you see it or you don't see it, once there is a fatha time. Right? And you have examples in the Quran, like inna ansha'nahunna. How you stop there? Insha'a, Surah Waqi'ah. You don't say inna ansha'nahunna insha' and stop. You don't see any alif, but you have to pronounce it. Why? Because there is a fathatain. So if it is a hamza, once there is fathatain, you pronounce the alif when you stop, whether you see the alif or you don't see the alif. If it's other than the ta marbuta on the hamza, you're going to see an alif, you stop on the alif. It's a star marbuta, you don't stop on any alif. You stop on the ha, right? The ta becomes ha. The man came today. Ja ar-rajulu al-yawma, right? Because al-yawm showing when? When he came, place and time, right? Ja ar-rajulu al-yawma. Now if you say Ja ar-rajulu al-yawm, mu, is going to sound as if yawm is some adjective for ar-rajul, but that is not the case. I slept a deep sleep, right? Nimtu nawman amiqan. That should be clear and easy, right? I slept a deep sleep. You use the masdar and then you put the description next to it to describe it. The child, female child, is beautiful, but we didn't say at-tiflu jamilatun. We use this expression. The child is a possessor of beauty, right? At-tiflatu dhatu jamalin is the same as saying the child is beautiful, but that's a different expression in Arabic. So you can say at-tiflatu jamilatun. You can say at-tiflatu dhatu jamal. The child has beauty. The child possesses beauty, right?
If you say Jamilatun, isn't it 10?
No, tun. Why 10?
Because mudaf ilayh.
For what?
The possessor is Jamal.
No. You can say at-tiflatu jamilatun. That's the full sentence. Or at-tiflatu dhatu jamalin, possessor of beauty. You're not going to say possessor of beautiful. No, you use a masdar, jamal.
Well, why? Like if I say مثلا الطفل جميل, isn't this مضاف إليه?
Atif jamilun? No, how? The child is beautiful. You're not saying the child of beauty. Mudaf ilayh is of. There's no mudaf ilayh. The child is beautiful. Where is the mudaf ilayh? There is noun and subject and predicate. Subject and information about the subject.
I thought,
Here is mudaf ilayh. This sentence here.
I'm talking about that.
Yeah, the other sentence, the child is beautiful. Where is the mudaf ilayh?
The child possesses the beauty.
No. You complicating yourself with grammatical terminology. Forget about the meaning. The grammatical terminology. The child is beautiful. There is no mudaf ilayh there. You're not saying this is a child of beauty. That's mudaf ilayh construction. The child is beautiful. It's noun, information about the noun. Forget about the possible meaning. You interpreting something. You understand what you're doing? For example, okay, Muhammad, if I say Muhammad went to the market, right? Muhammad went to the market. And the Arabic I use, Muhammadun dhahaba ila souk. Muhammad is what for the sentence? Muhammad is the subject. Now, it's not, Muhammad there is not the grammatical doer. Why? Because you start a sentence with Muhammad. You start a sentence with Muhammad. So in grammar, Muhammad is subject. In the meaning, right? The literal meaning, if you're not talking grammar, you can say, yeah, Muhammad is the doer. He's the one who went. But for the grammar of the sentence, Muhammad is not doer. He is subject. Because once you start a sentence with a noun, that noun is the subject. Dhahaba ila souk. What about Muhammad? He went to the market. Dhahaba ila souk. So that whole thing there is predicate. The doer for the verb is what? Is he referring to the subject. So there's a difference. You have the grammatical terminology and then you have the meaning, the literal meaning. Don't think about the literal meaning. Think about the grammatical wording or terminology. So when you say the child is beautiful, it's the same as saying the child is big, the child is small. There's no mudaf ilay. Mudaf ilay, you have to have an of meaning or apostrophe of some attribution, right? At-tiflatu dhatu jamal. So here you're saying that the child is a possessor of beauty. The child has beauty. Yeah. At-talibu, the student with the black hair is hard working. Now I give different translation just to know how this expression is used, like the equivalent form in English. At-talibu dhu sha'ri al-aswadi, right? At-talibu dhu ash-sha'ri al-aswad. The student with the black hair, meaning the student who possesses the black hair, mujtahid, is hardworking. Now anything after dhu and dhatu has to take kasra, right? Majrur. So you're going to say dhu sha'ri al-aswadi mujtahidun. Why mujtahidun? That's the information about the student, right? That's the information. Mujtahidun. The man drank the water. Shariba rajulu ma'an. The man drank water. So now here ma'an, you're not going to put alif. When the hamza is like this, you're not going to put alif. Shariba rajulu ma'an. You're going to stop shariba rajulu ma'a. Huwa dhu khuluqin hamid. He is a possessor, literally, he's a possessor of khuluq. Khuluq is character. Khalq is creation, right? Some of you make that mistake. Khuluq is character, khalq is creation. So here is character. Huwa dhu khuluqin. He is a possessor of praiseworthy character, right? He is a person of praiseworthy character. He has praiseworthy character. He's a man of praiseworthy character. Translate it how you want. The main thing, understand the concept in Arabic. قرأت قراءة المجتهد. قرأت, I read like the diligent student. Now here you're describing how you read, right? I read, how I read? The reading of a diligent student. I read the reading of a diligent student. So that reading there describing the verb, gotta be fatha. Now because it's attributed to something else specific, now it becomes mudaf ilay. I read the reading of a diligent student. Qara'tu qira'atal mujtahidi. Sorry, not student. The reading of a diligent person. Right? Qara'tu qira'atal mujtahidi. That translation, just correct that translation. I read the reading of a diligent. I read the reading of a diligent, meaning a diligent person. Or if you want, put in قرأت قراءة الطالب قرأت قراءة الطالب المجتهد. Gonna be I read the reading of a diligent student. And the last one, the student wrote the lesson. Clear, right? Simple verb, verb, doer, adjective. كتب الطالب الدرس. Now we mentioned the other thing that we were supposed to mention is the 5 verbs that becomes mansub or majzoom by dropping the noon. You call them al-af'al al-khamsa, the 5 verbs. That is what you call them, the 5 verbs. Someone asks, what are the 5 verbs? These are the 5 verbs. The 5 verbs that I'm going to give example instead of the scale, right? يذهبون let me start with يذهبان يذهبون تذهبان تذهبون أن تذهبين. 5, right? يذهبان يذهبون تذهبان تذهبون تذهبين. So the two duals, right? All is mudari. Right? All of them is mudari. The two duals, the two masculine plurals, right? Masculine plurals and the feminine second person. Right? The feminine second person, singular. Singular, feminine second person. Feminine second person talking to one female. Right? ماذا تطلبين من الطعام؟ ماذا تشربين؟ What are you drinking? ماذا تأكلين? What are you eating? Now these words, if you notice, they all have noon at the end. Right? So when you make them mansoob or majzoom, you drop the noon. Now if you drop the noon on these two, you're going to replace it with an alif. Right? And these here, you just drop the noon. So you're going to say lam yadhhaba, lan yadhhaba, lamma yadhhaba. Right? Same change. Lam yadhhabu, lan yadhhabu, lamma yadhhabu, lan tadhhabu, lam tadhhabu, lamma tadhhabu, tadhhabina, lam tadhhabi, lan tadhhabi, lamma tadhhabi. Compared to tadhhabu, tadhhabu, or yadhhabu. You're going to say lam yadhhab, right? Lan yadhhaba. Lam tadhhab, lam tadhhaba. Lamma yadhhab, lamma tadhhab. Right? These takes the regular vowels. But these, they become mansoob and majzoom with removing of the noon. Now there's another verb we add. We add noon at the end. Who remember? They, plural feminine. Like the woman went, right? You're going to say what? And nisa, yadhhabna, right? And nisa yadhhabna. So now if I got to say lam and nisa'u, lam yadh, what I'm going to say? If I put lam before the yadhhabna, what is become? Huh? What you call a noon? When we talk about this noon, right? There is a noon when you enter upon a present tense verb, that's it. It becomes mabni, fixed. Nothing can change it. So an-nisa yadhhabna, an-nisa lam yadhhabna, an-nisa lan yadhhabna, an-nisa lamma yadhhabna. You can't get rid of it. You call it noonun niswa, the noon of the woman. Once you sign the contract, that's it. Right? And this ya here, what you call this ya? You call it ya al-mukhatabati, the ya of the female that you're speaking with. Right? You can't get rid of it either. Once you put it on, right? So remember that. The noon going to fall out, but not the ya. That's why when you command the female, the ya remains. You command a male, idhab. Right? Command a female, idhabi. Command more than one female, idhabna. Now maybe we can add to this. These are known as the brothers, you're too loud, recording. These are known as the 5 verbs. You have the 5 nouns. You have al-af'alul khamsa, and you have al-asma'ul khamsa, the 5 nouns. What are the 5 nouns? What are the 5 nouns? Huh? Who know what are the 5 nouns? Remember in the regular, what you call it? How you make something marfu, regular noun? How you make a regular noun marfu? Dhamma. Mansub, fatha, and majroor, kasra. Now there are 5 nouns, some call it 6 nouns, but for more famous 5 nouns. It is fatha, dhamma, and kasra with waw, alif, and ya. Waw, alif, and ya. We did one of them, who remember? Actually, we did 2 of them. You know, the dual and plural nouns, they have the ruling. Because they are marfu. The dual is marfu with alif, and majroor with, and mansub with ya. And the plural is marfu with waw, and mansub and majroor with ya. Like qalamani marfu, qalamaini mansub and majroor, muslimuna marfu with waw, muslimina mansub majroor. But those that are referred to the 5 nouns is a different set of nouns. There are 5 nouns. They have a sign for each state. Remember the dual and the plural, qalamani, qalamaini, qalamani, and muslimuna, muslimina, they only have 2 signs. Right? One for marfu and another sign for both majroor and mansub. But the 5 nouns, they have a sign for each state. Anybody remember any of the nouns? We did one 2 days ago. We said it is, when it is marfu, it takes waw. When it is mansub, it takes alif. And when it is majroor, it takes ya. 2 days ago, we just reviewed it. Well, what is it? Think. We just reviewed it. Just before we did the af'al al-khamsa. Right? Dhu. Remember we mentioned dhu? Right? right? We say dhu, dha, and the. So, ja'a dhu malin, a person of wealth came. Ra'aytu dha malin, I saw a person of wealth. Marartu bi dhi malin, I passed by a person of wealth. Right? Do you remember the dhatu is regular with the vowel. Okay, you say dhatu, dhati, and dhata. Fatha, dhamma, kasr. That's regular. That's normal. So dhu is one. Another one that moves like this is akhu. Akhu means brother of. When you're saying brother of. When you're saying just brother is akhun. Right? When you're saying just brother is akhun. Right? But when you're saying brother of, a single brother of, it falls under this category. So if I say, the brother of Muhammad came. Ja'a akhu Muhammadin. I saw the brother of Muhammad. Ra'aytu akha Muhammad. I give salam to the brother of Muhammad. Salamtu ala akhi Muhammad. Clear? So this akhu, akhi, and akha. I should put these two here, right? Akhu, akhi, akhu, akha, akhi. Now, akhi by itself means what? My brother. But if you say akhi Muhammadin, it's going to be what? The brother of Muhammad. Now, if it's my brother Muhammad, what is it going to be? Akhi Muhammadun. Because Muhammad is going to take the same ruling as Ja'a, my brother Muhammad came. Ja'a akhi Muhammad dun. But the brother of Muhammad came. Ja'a akhi Muhammadin. So dhu, akhu, and the next famous one is ab. When you say the father of, not the just father. All of these are mudaf ilay, right? Possessor of, brother of, father of. So abu. Ja'a Abu Bakrin. Abu Bakr came. I saw Ra'aytu Aba Bakrin. Right? And I give salam. Salam to ala. Remember, ala makes the next word kasra state. Salam to ala Abi Bakrin. That's why in the hadith you're going to see. An Abi Bakr. Right? An Abil Abbas. An. Anytime you have an, the next word say Abi. But if it's the doer, it's going to be Abu. Or if it's the subject, it's going to be Abu. So pay attention to those. You're going to see the differences, inshallah. So those are the three more most famous amongst the five, what are known as the 5 words. You have the word fu. Fu means mouth, right? Fam, but mouth of. Fu means mouth of, right? So fuka means the mouth of you, your mouth, right? Fuka kabir. Right? Your mouth is big. Ra'aytu faka maftuhan. Ra'aytu faka. I saw your mouth maftuhan, open. Dakhala al-dhubab fi fika. Dakhala al-dhubab. The fly enter. Fi in. Fika. Your mouth. So don't think they mistakenly say the next fika is in you. No. Fika means your mouth. Fuka, your mouth. Faka, your mouth. Right? And in in the hadith of Al-Bara, the famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ saw the sceneries of the grave. One of the person going to have his mouth ripped. What is the wording? The word fi. So if you see fu, fi, and fa, all of these has to be in mudaf ilay way, right? If it's by itself, if you want to say the mouth just like that, you can't use fu. You can't say al fu. You got to use fam, the regular word, right? Fam. And you can use famuka and famaka and famika. Nothing wrong. But there's a different word you can also use. The plural for fu is what? Afwa. Where is afwa? In the Quran?
Afwak.
No. يقولون بأفواههم ما ليس في قلوبهم. Right? Afwahihim, their mouths. They're saying with their mouths, right? From this word, fu. That's the root for it. So those are known as we have dhu, akhu, abu, fu, and they have hamu. In the hadith, al-hamul maut, right? The in-laws are death, right? Al-hamul maut. The male in-laws, referring to the male in-laws of the woman, they are death. So if you say the in-laws, the father-in-law of the woman, hamuha, hamaha, hamiha, and there's another one that is, some of the scholars count it amongst the sixth of the 5 words that follow the same ruling. Anything else? Like I mentioned, the exam, inshallah, with regards to the competition, I'm going to check that. Inshallah, the exam going to be in the last week of the month. We said the conversation, most of it, right? First we say all of it, but most of it going to be English. You got to write the Arabic. We're going to put some of the Arabic to write the English. And with regards to this book here, it's going to be easy, inshallah. Most of it going to be like this same homework here that we gave the last time. Look, the thing was right in front on the board there. Dhu, tha, and thee. Right, most of it going to be sentences. You have to put in the tashkil. Sentences, some of it I'm going to put a meaning, some of it I'm not going to put a meaning. Right, most of it going to be like that. Inshallah. So you know how it coming. For the sisters, we're going to send out what's the methodology, online or in person or what they're going to be, inshallah. As for the brothers, the brothers don't have any excuse. Anything else? Huh? I didn't hear what he said. The yearly plan. Oh, yes. The yearly plan. The yearly plan, we're going to commence in September, inshallah. Right? Our regular Arabic that was going on. Right now, just before this summer, this program here, we were doing the Qasasun Nabiyyin. So the first 3 to 4 months, we're going to start back from scratch. But not scratch. Scratch enough for the person who doesn't know anything can follow. When I say not scratch meaning we're not going to go to like hadha kitab, hadha qalam to bore you out. So who need to start from scratch, they can start from scratch. Who need a little more background. So the first 3 to 4 months going to be like that. Those who don't need to join that, they don't need to join that. And then after that, we're going to open it for those who are intermediate to advanced. But it's gonna be designed for those who are a little bit intermediate advanced to not get bored, and those who just came out from the intro, the beginner class, they're not gonna be lost. And we're gonna gradually add the what you call it, the grammars. And so we're not gonna do back this book, right? We're gonna add grammars gradually from a different book. So you get exposed to a different book. Where is and it's gonna be available too for the sisters. For the sisters who did the exam. You don't have to pass the exam. You just have to do the exam. Right? If we have room, we may open it up for others, but not much. Maybe 5 students maximum, 5, 6 maximum. The exact timing and the days, we're going to discuss that later, inshallah, in the groups. We're going to discuss that. You don't have to be present every class, but you must be present at least one class, but you have to follow up on every class. Right? That is how the yearly class goes. It's flexible, but you have to follow up on every class, and you have to do the homework. Like I said, with the program, inshallah, in a year, 2 years, you can move on to just study the Arabic through Arabic, right? So that is what we aiming for. But you have to follow the program. You have to follow the program. If you don't follow the program, you're not going to come out with the results that is intended, inshallah. For the sisters, it can continue online, it can continue in person. If we have 2 or 3 sisters who are gonna come in person, we can do it set it up in person. We just, with some more technology, set up the place, inshallah, where you get, the in-person is always better, inshallah. But that day we're gonna follow up, inshallah, in the group after the exam. But that's the plan in general. Anything else? That is it.
So can Ja'a be part of those?
Ja'a. Be part of what? The 5. Remember, those are Asma'ul Khamsa.
Oh, okay.
5 nouns. Ja is a regular verb. When you're in the West, you can master 2 things, like I mentioned in the beginning, and I see people master it: listening comprehension and reading comprehension. The speaking, no matter, even if you're in an Arab world, if you don't speak, you're not gonna be fluent with it, right? You can see the word and know it, hear the word and know it, but when it comes to pulling it out and articulating, it's a whole different thing. That can only come with practice, and that is the least important, right? When you speak with 1, 2 person, you stutter, nothing wrong once you can survive. But don't gauge your progress based on the speaking, right? That you can't speak or conversate. Anything else? If there's nothing else, we're good, inshallah, until the exam. I'm gonna post in the group the other details with the exam, inshallah ta'ala. And whoever win the competition prize, we're gonna post Post it in the group or send a private message.
Private.
What we say? How many prize you say we giving out? 3? Inshallah. And
And the
we
girls-
had-
the
we
girls are
had-
separate too.
no, we didn't decide that, right? We this is the price for yesterday. It was yesterday. Yesterday we had the. Yeah, I'll forgetting everything. Yesterday we had what was the thing for yesterday? Why is gave I think is your sister who answered, Ismail. Why Makkah doesn't have Alif and Lam? Remember? Right? Makkatul Mukarramati. Makkatul Mukarramati. Right? That was the question yesterday. And we get more prizes to come. How many people submit? We're done. If anybody want to leave, they can leave. How many people submit competition here? Put your hand up. 1, 2. You submit? 2 person?
I didn't even know who wrote.
The the one for Makkah, there's 2 prize. Who answered the question yesterday? The correct answer. Someone sent an answer, but the first answer wasn't
One of the girls,
correct.
it wasn't one of the boys.
No, 2 person answered to the same thing. We have more prizes to come. And we have whole year, inshallah. Right. So 2 of you, the sisters who send me the competition, make sure you add your name, inshallah, if you're in the chat. All right. So since there is no more questions, we're gonna end here, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك وجزاكم الله خيرا. May Allah reward you all. بارك الله فيك.